Erling Haaland averages barely 20 touches a game, less than some defensive midfielders. But those few touches,
Haaland into the penalty area, hits the shot, oh I say, Erling Haaland!
They've made him the fastest player in Champions League history to 52 goals.
Pass of Phil Foden, that finish from the monster, we already know when it comes to goals and anything that happens in the box, at his age, what he did, the amount of goals, nobody can talk to him.
In this breakdown, we'll show how minimal involvement has become his greatest advantage, the numbers behind his record-shattering efficiency, and why defenders are terrified even when he's standing still. He can disappear for 40 minutes and still decide the entire rhythm of a match. That's what makes Erling Haaland so confusing to watch. When supporters see a striker barely touching the ball, the instinct is to assume he's been marked out of the game. The old idea of a perfect number 9 still carries an image of constant movement, short passes, and link-up play. But Haaland breaks that image. He spends long stretches away from the ball.
He's not going to touch the ball a lot. He's going to touch the ball in the box majority of the time. And he needs to be sharp in the box. And normally he is sharp in the box.
Yet somehow remains the most dangerous presence on the pitch. So, how can a player seem so detached and still shape everything around him? The criticism isn't hard to find. Pundits call him a passenger. They say he offers little beyond the goals, and that Manchester City becomes predictable when he's not involved. But numbers show a different reality. Even with his low touch count, Haaland's off-ball involvements, his presses, decoy runs, and defensive positioning shift the flow of the game.
I know there's been a lot of talk whether City are a worse team with Haaland playing, but today showed. There was times in the first half where he had to drop a little bit deeper to try and get involved, but his movement off the ball is just absolutely world class.
In City's attack, those quieter movements may not register on stat sheets, but they ripple through the opponent's structure. Every small adjustment forces defenders into uncomfortable decisions. That invisible pressure is the core of his threat. When a centre-back tracks Haaland tightly, it opens the half spaces where Phil Foden or Jeremy Doku thrive. When they hold their line instead, Haaland's burst in behind becomes almost impossible to match. His job isn't to touch the ball every minute, it's to make defenders second-guess their shape. This means the entire setup moves in reaction to him. His disappearance is not absence, it's a trap. The Manchester derby offered a clear example. In that game, Haaland defended inside his own box, making 6 clearances. Yet, within moments, he was at the other end, scoring twice. That contrast between contribution and invisibility defines him. Many forwards would drain their energy sprinting for every pass. Haaland waits, studies, and then attacks when space finally breaks. The patience isn't passive, it's strategic. Pep Guardiola has described him as colder and praised his efficiency, and it fits perfectly with how City use him.
He has the numbers for Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, like control the last decade, 20, 50 years, absolutely everything. And in terms of numbers, it's that level. I don't know how he does, but scoring 100 games, 91 goals is something in Premier League, you know that, in this country, is unbelievable.
That coldness is composure, the refusal to chase influence for the sake of appearances. The system relies on him holding defenders in place so others can create. In fact, since his arrival, City's play has shown shorter sequences and more direct forward passes, reflecting a deliberate shift towards exploiting the chaos he causes without even touching the ball. For defenders, it becomes a constant dilemma.
If they put the cross on second post high,
lose him for a second and he's through on goal. Focus only on him and City carve open the free spaces he's left behind. That's why his silence on the pitch is so loud. It shapes the field long before he receives a pass. The real question is what the data says about these rare moments of contact. If he's influencing matches so heavily with so little involvement, then how valuable is each of those touches? Statistically, no striker in modern football scores with fewer touches than Erling Haaland. His goals per touch ratio pushes efficiency to an extreme. To understand how unusual that is, it helps to define it simply. How many touches a player needs before one results in a goal? For most elite forwards, that number hovers in the double digits. For Haaland, it's often closer to single figures. The difference seems small until you realize how often he scores compared to how rarely he's involved.
My dream is to touch the ball 5 times and score 5 goals. That's my biggest dream.
Every time he contacts the ball, there is a measurable chance it ends up in the net. Historically, even the best finishers, Harry Kane, Robert Lewandowski, Kylian Mbappe, maintain consistent scoring rates, but they all play heavier roles in build-up. They drop deep, combine, and register double the number of touches per match.
What's your position exactly? Because we're saying everywhere.
Yeah, today was more in midfield, I'd say. Probably 6, 8 and 10. But that's I enjoy it.
Haaland breaks that mold entirely. His isolation doesn't limit him, it makes him statistically monstrous. Across major competitions, he converts chances at blistering speed. He reached 52 Champions League goals in only 50 matches. Compare that with Ruud van Nistelrooy, who needed 62, Lionel Messi with 66, and Cristiano Ronaldo with 91. The margin isn't small, it's an acceleration of almost an era's worth of scoring pace. The Premier League numbers back it up further. Haaland scores at a rate of 1.32 goals per 90 minutes. If he continues even near that average, projections show he could surpass Alan Shearer's 100-goal mark in fewer than 125 matches, making him the quickest in the league's history to do so. It's not only his frequency that stands out, but how economically those goals arrive.
34 in a season, for example, is the best that's been in the Premier League, myself and Andy Cole. You're not going to tell us that target that you've got in terms of goals?
No, I still have a target in me, but I know a couple of records. I know a couple of your records as well.
Where most leading strikers require around 10 or more shots to score, Haaland often needs half that. Each action carries a purpose so sharp that waste barely exists. What makes this even more fascinating is how Manchester City's game plan enhances, not hinders, his low-touch rhythm. Under Pep Guardiola, the team shifted toward faster, more vertical transitions. Instead of the long passing sequences that once dominated City's style, they now exploit Haaland's timing and acceleration. The direct approach feeds his instinct to attack space early by reducing how often he participates in midfield play. The system concentrates his involvement around final third explosions rather than midfield exchanges. The result is a striker who rarely touches the ball, but touches it in only the zones that matter. Another layer behind those numbers is endurance. The fewer unnecessary runs he makes, the more energy he can store for those precise, forceful sprints that define his goals. He's not conserving effort out of laziness, he's managing it like a resource. That controlled output keeps him powerful deep into matches when defenders fade. His efficiency becomes self-sustaining. The fewer moments he expends energy, the deadlier each one becomes. When all those indicators combine, the pattern is clear. Haaland isn't just prolific because he shoots often. He's prolific because he wastes nothing. Football has tracked plenty of high-volume scorers, but none have maintained such impact with so little involvement. And that leads to a bigger question. What kind of evolution, physical and mental, allows a player to operate at that level of precision for years without burning out? He wasn't always built like a Norse titan. When Erling Haaland began at Molde FK, he was tall but still growing into his frame, lighter on the ball, and far from the explosive finisher he would become. Coaches saw the raw pace and instinct, but there were limits. His stamina dipped deep into matches, and his physical duels often ended with him bounced off stronger defenders. Over the years, that version of Haaland became a completely different athlete.
Immediately, Haaland just powers forward. Oh, lovely stuff! Erling Haaland's doing it too!
He's gone from a lanky teenager to a 36-km/h powerhouse who can outrun, outjump, and outlast anyone marking him. The transformation wasn't an accident, it was designed. At the core of that design was a relentless self-study routine. Haaland didn't rely on team training, he treated his own body like an ongoing research project.
Okay, this way. Good. Open. Up.
Every aspect of recovery and performance became monitored. Diet, sleep, strength work, even how different foods affected his reaction speed the next day. He once said, "I've never felt better. I don't have any pain in my body," which is amazing. That simple statement tells a lot about just how deeply he tracks well-being as part of his football. The point isn't just comfort, it's durability. The player who once faded late in matches now sustains explosive pace through the 90-minute mark. Strength training formed the base of his rebuild, adding functional muscle without slowing him down. Instead of bulking for show, he trained for balance, sprint acceleration, and flexibility. But the mental side developed just as intensely. He built routines before matches that prepare him to switch concentration.
Let's go.
Instantly when the chance comes. His mindset mirrors his style: conserve energy in thought and motion until it's time to release everything. That focus allows him to wait patiently when others would grow restless, saving energy that later converts into devastating bursts. At Manchester City, Pep Guardiola saw that efficiency and shaped the system around it. The team became more vertical, more direct in progression. Average passes per sequence dropped sharply as City added speed through transitions and higher forward passes. Their rate of fast breaks nearly doubled within a season. That shift gave Haaland a structure that rewards his movement style. He doesn't need 50 passes to arrive at goal range. One well-timed run and the moment opens. His efficiency multiplied because the system stopped demanding constant combination play and started amplifying the moments where he's most lethal.
Taking on Bednarek into the penalty area he goes, clips it on, Haaland!
The final evolution came in his finishing variety. Earlier in his career, most of his goals came from one-on-ones and ground strikes. Now, he dominates in the air, scores volleys, and strikes with both feet almost equally. Each addition layers more unpredictability onto a player already thriving on minimal touches. His physical condition lets him maintain full speed late into matches, while his tactical clarity ensures each run serves a purpose. Haaland has become football's most optimized striker, a decade-long project of engineering body and mind for maximum output at minimal cost. And the next part of his story may determine how that model reshapes the future of the position itself. Erling Haaland has redefined what efficiency means for a striker. He's proven that constant involvement isn't always the key to dominance. Precision is. By conserving energy and acting only when space opens, he's made minimalism a weapon. As football grows faster and more demanding, that approach could become the new model for forwards everywhere. His style shows that effectiveness isn't about how often a player touches the ball, but what happens when they do. The scariest part of Haaland's rise isn't his record pace, it's how little effort it seems to take for him to stay miles ahead of everyone else.